Hi everyone, thank you all for joining us, Evie Unbounded. Today, I have an honor to interview this really amazing woman who started the food industry on food. That's what's good for your body, your health. And I noticed her product when I was actually shopping on my Instagram, just going through stuff. And I noticed that we have a lot of mutual friend, a lot of great mutual girlfriend, a lot of women friend of mine that I aspire, that I admire, also friend of this amazing woman, Julie. So I'm so happy having her on the podcast. And she's currently in London, so it's nighttime over there. And as you can see, my time is daytime. But I definitely want to interview her because I was like, when I come back from Europe, I definitely had to reach out to her and then find out how she started this business in the food industry. It's called Methodology. And when I was doing more research on you, Julie, by the way, thank you, Julie, to being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me. I feel excited to be here.
Yeah, so I was looking you up, like try to know who you are, and then I realized this is not your industry. I mean, before this, you were in tech and you went to Stanford. So, I'm gonna leave it from here and have you introduce everyone your background because I was surprised when I was doing some digging on your background and then I'm like, oh, she's really cool. It's like, how did she change from one industry to another? Yeah, tell us the story.
I definitely never thought I would work in the food industry. I had a very typical, Asian American raised by a tiger mom like
Yeah.
upbringing. So straight A's in high school, never drank any alcohol, went to Stanford, worked for JP Morgan right out of Stanford for 3 years, and then joined an early stage tech company after that because I wanted to see how consumer products are built from the ground up. And
Especially when to Stanford. No, no, not stereotyping you, but it seemed like when you go to Stanford, most of them, work for the tech startup. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so everyone I knew worked in banking or tech, because all of my college friends, and
Hmm.
I didn't have any plans to ever like go into the food industry. I loved tech and loved the lifestyle that you can lead when you work in tech, right? Because it's a desk
Yes.
job, it's knowledge workers. And but as my career progressed in tech, I was at the time being groomed to potentially become COO of the tech company I was working at.
Hmm.
And so I was working crazy hours. And as my hours got worse, it became progressively harder for me to eat healthfully because I
Yeah.
was just relying on takeout more and more on weeknights because some nights I would work till 10, 11 p.m. And then on weekends, I was so exhausted from my busy work week that the last thing I wanted to do on Sundays was grocery shop and meal prep. So
Yeah, totally. Hmm.
I like basically at that time I looked at meal prep services, but none were good enough to meet my standards. Like I tried a bunch in San Francisco. I even flew in food all the way from New York to San Francisco,
Oh
and
my
it didn't
gosh.
give them. Yeah, I was just like, money's no object. I just want healthy food with the best ingredients, and I want it to taste good. And I couldn't find anything. And so I talked to my one of my best friends about this problem, and I was like, let's hire a personal chef. Let's manage the chef. You and I will manage the chef and just see which of our friends wants us to manage their food for them.
Yeah.
And so I sent an email out to a bunch of close friends, and pretty much, I mean, most of them said yes because they had already known at that time that I was very passionate about nutrition and weight loss, and was pretty strict with my diet relative to the average person because I have so many food sensitivities.
Mm.
So we started feeding our friends, and people kept asking to get added to our group. People weren't canceling, people were loving the experience. And
Yeah.
my co-founder, Stefan, and I were just loving working on this. Like it was a really hard, but we were loving it. And so I decided to quit my job in tech, and the CEO of that tech company became the first investor in Methodology. He's still my mentor today.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, it was
So
just over 8 years ago.
wow. So they wasn't disappointed. Oh no, we lost like the potential best COO. They want to support you. That's amazing. Yeah. And who's your co-founder? Was she your friend or how you found your co-founder?
So Stefan was one of my best friends. I had met through mutual friends years before, and we bonded over two things. One, we both were raised by single Asian mothers,
Oh, yeah,
and
I can join that group. Me too. Uh-huh.
which is
Yeah.
like a certain kind of upbringing where we didn't have much money and we had pretty tough moms.
Yeah.
And the other thing we had in common, which is why I had approached him about this idea in the first place, was like we just love food and we can talk about food for 8 hours straight without getting bored of it. And so when I had this idea, he was on my short list of people to talk to. And he's ended up being the perfect co-founder for me because he's good at all the things that where I'm weak at and vice versa. So it's like literally the healthiest personal relationship I have in my life is the one with my co-founder. And I think that our solid relationship is the key reason why methodology is successful today and has survived, all the ups and downs over the last 8 years.
Yeah, because you started this company in 2015, right? So it's almost 10 years. So from starting from the beginning till now, which is very successful. I mean, if you on Instagram as active bio, which is terrible idea, don't do that. But if you on Instagram, you would notice like your product, right? And then I think one of the reason I see your stuff a lot is because I have the same concern as you do because I also have a lot of I have a lot of allergies, so there's a lot of stuff I could eat and then I can't eat. And then even going out, I have to order it, right? But then it's like it's the same type of food over and over again. And it's not always convenient if sometimes I come home really late and then they're closed. And you have to wait for a long time for them to show us. So by the time they deliver, it kind of past your if you intermediate fasting or you have a certain time you need to eat it past that time also, and then I sometimes end up just like grabbing whatever, or I'm still hungry thinking, oh my god, I'm just gonna go sleep and then get something tomorrow. And then I was looking at food delivery that prep food, but I have to be honest, a lot of them don't look that delicious as yours. And then to me they're also all like frozen and just like, to me it looked like leftover, and then I have this thing about leftover food, maybe because I was raised by Chinese people. They're like, do not eat leftover food, they're not healthy, especially if they have vegetable, you don't eat the leftover, the ingredients gone. But now I was looking at your food, they're very freshly, they look beautiful, they're freshly made, they're packaging really well. And I think every package that you set up, they have different program, right? Like there was special for your needs, and then they have like 5-day program and stuff. And your salad, they look delicious. At least on Instagram, they look beautiful. So how you come up with, I guess the two question I was gonna have is, it's been almost 10 years, the up and down. How did you and your co-founder, what was the journey like from the beginning to now? Obviously now you guys are successful, but how was it like from the beginning to now? And then the second question, I was like, how do you come up with the idea, what kind of food you guys gonna prepare and packaging? Because I have to say, they look very pretty and they look very fresh. So I don't know what the trick is, but they look delicious. So yeah.
Yeah, I can answer both of those questions kind of at the same time because they end up being related. I mean, when I started the business, I knew I was solving for a very specific pain point, like busy professionals who want high quality meals. Like we didn't want to eat the typical meal prep that was designed for bodybuilders. Like it
Yes.
costs $15 and it's a bland bodybuilder meal. I'm not trying to eat like a bodybuilder, and I
Yeah.
can also afford to pay more for better ingredients and better packaging, like more sustainable, prettier, higher quality, all of that. And there was just nothing in the market for people like me.
There
And
isn't.
there
Yeah.
wasn't, there was zero. There was
Or,
zero.
or another thing is, which I think that's how you started it, getting a private chef. But then you had to share the private chef with everyone, right? I mean, because the cost by itself would be too expensive.
Yeah, it was really expensive. When we first were prototyping
Uh-huh.
methodology with friends and family, I think we were charging around, $35 or more a meal.
Uh-huh.
And the quality wasn't even as good as what it is today, because today, we just have so much infrastructure in place. The meals are 20 times better than they were in year one. So, and the price is lower. So,
Yeah.
in early days, we just knew we were solving for just like high quality ingredients
Hmm.
Packaging was something that we couldn't really solve and do custom when we weren't at scale and when we were small. So we had to kind of just suck it up and buy off the shelf packaging, right? That other meal prep companies were using. And in the early days, we've always pretty much been bootstrapped. We raised like a small amount of money from friends and family. We've always pretty much been bootstrapped. And so the good thing about that from a customer perspective is like we run our business knowing that we have to have repeat purchases in order to survive, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have to keep our customers happy. We can't just keep throwing marketing dollars at the problem and acquiring new customers and just churning through them. And we have to run our business really efficiently. So and also because we've never done a Series A, we don't have to grow at a certain rate, right? So we as a business, my co-founder and I, we talked early on and we decided like we both are very passionate about like basically working as artisans and thinking about this as a craft and creating the most beautiful, well-made product in the world. Like we
Yeah,
want to
you
create.
do look beautiful, and yeah. So I'm glad that I point that out because that was your intention. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And for us, we say for us, quality of our product is way more important than revenue growth. Like we've
Hmm.
always run our business that way. The quality of the product comes first and foremost over how fast we grow. And so we're aligned in in that is our business strategy. And that's why we've just grown slow and steady over the years. Like we didn't go national until this year, April of this year,
Oh,
after being in business for
wow.
a long time, because we wanted to set up all the infrastructure properly in order to ship nationwide. One of the things we had to do to ship nationwide was we had to design our own custom bento. So the bentos that we use now are reusable, recyclable, leak-proof, nest-proof, nestable, light, and like affordable, right? Like there was no
Mhm.
such thing that existed on the market at all
Yeah.
today. So we had to like figure out how to get those manufactured ourselves. It took 2 years. Behind the scenes, we were doing this work for 2 years. And
Oh
once
my gosh. Yeah.
it, we were able to like use that in our nationwide launch. So we do things like that anyone who's raised a Series A could never do that kind of thing because they're always under pressure to like grow every quarter, every
Yeah.
year, right? Really rapidly. So we're thinking very long term. And that's why our product is the way it is. That's why we use glass jars, right? We also had to figure out before the bentos
And
how
that's
to
what I was gonna
manufacture.
say. It is in a glass jar, and also it looks
Yeah.
so pretty. And then I feel like it's like a niche because I want to eat healthy, but I don't want those like food delivery packaged thing. It just doesn't look delicious to me. Like I said, they look like a leftover or microwavable, like
Like a TV
like
dinner.
TV
Yeah.
dinner, yes.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't look delicious to me at all. And then private chef was something I thought about also, but it get really pricey unless you can split it between all your friends, and we can share a private chef or something like that. It's just so there's no like something where professional people that can get something healthy and fit what their body needs and look delicious, right? So yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We're going after people exactly like you. And plus managing a private chef, as we did that in the early days, it's a pain. It's a lot of work.
Oh,
And
really? Also? Okay.
yeah, and yeah, because you have to kind of manage them, right?
Oh,
You have to
yeah, you
manage
have to tell them what
them.
you want to. Yeah.
Yeah, tell them what you want, tell them what you don't like. They have a very limited repertoire because they're one person, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be able to tell you probably like the macros and stuff like that. And um, you're not gonna have like food photography and be able to pick off a menu. You're just not gonna have that
Yeah.
kind of infrastructure with a private chef. So there are a lot of benefits to going with a service like ours. I mean, we have a lot of clients who are really wealthy and they will also do a blend of a private chef and us.
Uh-huh.
Uh, because a chef isn't going to cook all meals for every meals and snacks, for every day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Uh, so it runs
That's
the whole
true.
spectrum. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's another clientele. You're right, because then they can mix it. They can mix it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they get the best of both worlds in that way, where they can do the a la minute, cook on the spot for maybe like a dinner, and then they can they'll do methodology for lunch, breakfast, snacks, drinks, things like that. So it just depends on people's budgets and what they want, but I mean, I feel honored. It's crazy when I think about year one. There's like the list of celebrities who like I would have given anything for them to taste methodology for free, and now like pretty much all these celebrities are subscribers to methodology by
That's
now, right?
awesome. Yeah.
They don't post. It's funny, people don't post about us, so it's kind of we have competitors where celebrities post about them, it's because our competitors pay them for these partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Celebrities who just use us and pay for us. And so they
Yeah.
don't post about us because they're paying for the
Right.
product, right?
Yeah.
But it's totally fine. It's crazy to me to see some of the names that are eating our food, people I've like looked up to since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it feels amazing that we've pushed the quality of our product high enough now, such that in year 8, that dream customer who has no budget chooses us. That's
Mhm.
like, that means you're at the top of your game. It's something I feel really proud of.
Yeah, and then I think that the way how you create the company and how you expand it is very not like you said, like raising Series A, and then because you really want to take the quality control of how your product gonna go, and really to keep the name, right? So I think it show even though like you were saying you didn't go national till this year, um, and now I see it on social media all the time, and it's beautiful. The advertisement is great. I actually think that that's how you actually retain repeat clients, right? Because there's so many other those same service, but then they don't. And then I don't know because I can't compare like because everybody has different tastes, but they don't look as pretty or fresh to me. Um, so I would say that's the difference. That's what I noticed. Like, what would you say? What set your company apart from another?
Yeah, it's that fine dining quality. We've taken the time to do things properly. Everything from all of our packaging is custom manufactured just for us to be as sustainable and beautiful and reusable as possible, and also recyclable. We took the time to set up proper relationships with our own farm. So that's why our produce looks so fresh, because it literally, we cut out the middleman. So like
Oh,
most
you have your
food
own
companies,
farm. Okay.
yeah, so most food companies, the food goes from the farm to the distributor to the kitchen, but our fine dining ingredients, produce, fine dining quality produce that you see in the photos, that you see in the meals, goes straight from
Yeah.
the farm to our kitchen. And that window is several days, right? That we save, that the produce is fresher. Like, that's fresher than what you get at the grocery market, because even at the grocery store, it goes from farm to distributor to grocery store, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that is why our produce looks and tastes so good,
Yeah.
because we've done
Okay.
that. And this is what fine dining restaurants do. Most Michelin restaurants will set up some kind of infrastructure like this, because you have to, because a lot of fine dining quality produce is just really perishable. It's not going to last 3 days in a truck,
Well, that's
right?
what I
So
was gonna say. How you make sure, like, that's another thing, like, to keep up with the client and then their demand, and then you still have to keep fresh food. Like, I was wondering how you gotta do that. That makes sense now. Okay, so you gotta have your own farm.
yeah, you gotta
Okay.
have, exactly. So we've just taken the time, because our strategy has always been clear to us: fine dining quality, right? Like quality,
Yes.
quality, quality, artisanal. So like, in my mind, it's like what Laurel Piana is for knitwear, like we are for food, right? So
Yeah.
that's always been the goal. And it just makes it really easy for us to make business decisions. And it makes it easy for us to weed through customer feedback and who to listen to and who not to listen to, because we know who our target customer is and what they want. And then we just keep doubling down on that every year. Like, how do we improve the recipes? How do we improve, how do we get new ingredients on the menu that aren't on the menu yet?
Talk
What
about
else?
recipe. How you get come up with the recipe? Who came up with the recipe? Yeah.
It's, well, we've had so many chefs over the years who have come up with different recipes. So some concepts came from me, some came from my co-founder, some came from chefs. So concepts come from everywhere in the company. Different chefs have R&D different recipes at different time periods in our history,
Mhm.
because we've been around a long time.
Yeah.
But every recipe is recipe tested like crazy before it makes it onto the menu, by really amazing chefs. So for us, because we're not going after that bodybuilder who will just sacrifice flavor, because
Yeah.
they're just like, food is like a function for them, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
not about pleasure anymore. They're just like, they just want to hit their macros, right? Well,
Yeah.
that's not our customer. Our customer cares about the pleasure that they experience
Yes.
from flavorful food. So our bar has always been really high with flavor. Like, it's so high, like, I go out regularly and taste test all the healthiest snacks, in the high end space, all the healthiest meal prep services. And I can't believe some of the stuff that makes it like onto the market, because like, to me, like, so many protein bars literally taste like cardboard, right?
It does, right? I mean,
Yeah, like
yes,
I hate
yes.
like 90% of protein, like healthy, like truly healthy protein bars. I'm not talking about the ones that have like all the junk in it
Yeah,
that
yeah,
taste.
yeah,
I'm talking
exactly.
about the actual ones with clean ingredients, right? And so this is why, like for us, we invest so much in R&D. There have been recipes we tested for weeks and weeks, for months before we're like, okay, it's good to add to the menu. So our bar is really high, not just for the aesthetics of the meal, but everything needs to taste delicious, because we know that if you love the taste of the food, right, you're going to
Yeah.
keep coming back. And like, we have to prioritize that, because we haven't raised tons of money to go out and just acquire, spend like, right, $100,000 a week acquiring new customers. We can't do that. We need repeat buyers, and like flavor is the most important
Poor
thing
thing.
that determines whether customers come back, more so than anything else. Beauty, sustainability, calories, it's flavor. And so we've known that since year one. It became really clear since year one. And so nothing makes it onto our menu until it's been really thoroughly recipe tested, approved by like the bulk of the tasters in our kitchen. And the standard is high. It's not like, we don't want it to just taste good for a health food. It needs to just taste good.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I mean, yeah, for me too. Like, cause yeah, cause and you're right. The bar, a lot of it's also, we talk about the super clean one, right? You're right. So a really healthy one, I really don't want to eat it. Even if I'm
Yeah.
hungry, I still don't want to eat it. Sometimes they will offer you, it's like, oh, here's the snack bar. You can have this one. It's healthy, whatever. And then, be honest with you, I know it's healthy. I'm not downing it, but just looking at it is not appetizing to me. Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm the kind of person, if food tastes bad, I will spit it out. Like, I can't even bring myself to swallow
Yeah,
food.
I just gotta do
Bad.
it.
I
Yeah.
can't. I can't. It's just grosses me out. So, and my co-founder is like a total foodie as well. Before starting this business, he had like retired early because he did well in finance. And so he spent 7 years just traveling the world, staging at different kitchens around the world, which basically means to cook and work at different kitchens around the world. So he has insane amount of food knowledge, and he's like a food
Wow.
encyclopedia, cooking encyclopedia. Like, he could, there have been times when our head chef has been out sick and he's jumped in and like run the entire kitchen. Like, so he
Oh
can
my
do
God. Wow.
he's like one of the most talented chefs like at methodology, actually. So he doesn't cook these days, but he could, right? Like, if he
Yeah,
needs
yeah,
to, he can
yeah.
come in and out cook pretty much almost any chef in our kitchen, right? Except maybe, our current head of culinary innovation, who's like really badass, but he can pretty much out cook almost any exec chef who has ever worked for us. That's how
Oh,
good he
you
is.
definitely pick a right co-founder there. Well, but
I
he
know.
didn't, but he wasn't like that till you guys started the company though, right?
No, I mean, no, I knew he had traveled the world learning about food, but I didn't know until I started working with him how much food knowledge he had. I had no idea. I
Wow.
knew he was like a foodie like me, but it wasn't until I started working alongside him that I realized, like, wow, like how much he had learned in working at all these kitchens all over the world for 7 years. So, uh,
Yeah.
which, anyone would love to do that, because when you stage, to be clear, you're usually not getting paid, or you're being paid like minimum wage. And
Yes.
so chefs go and they stage like for educational purposes, but they can't do it for very long, because you're not really making a lot of money in a lot of cases. Sometimes you're not really like, being paid much at all. But like I said, he was retired, right? And so he like, he was able to do it for 7 years for fun because it was his passion. And so like, like no chef, like any chef
Could
would
do
die to
that.
be able to just work at the best kitchens around the world for 7 years,
Yeah.
right? Like, not worry about money. And so he's just really unusual that he just has an obscene amount of food knowledge and a network, because he's done this. And so this is why our food standards are so high. Like, my co-founder, he has a fine dining background, intense food knowledge. He's never been a health freak, so he just wants food to taste good. Like, he's
Yeah.
one of those like Asian guys who can't gain weight even if he eats 5,000
Oh,
calories,
I
right?
hate those people.
I
Just kidding.
know. It's like, I'm so jealous of him, right? So,
Yeah.
so the two of us combined, I mean, we're just like your typical picky, picky eaters.
Yeah. Well, and then you have the health part because you have the restriction and stuff. So no, that's perfect. But then, was it scary for you to actually start this? Like you have no idea it was going to be successful or not, and how you tell your family, because I can relate to you on that. I also have a tiger mom, like you're a doctor, lawyer, or engineer or something like that. And you went to Stanford, you're working on a tech company, you were gonna be the COO. It sounded like it was like on the right track. And then for you to drop that and then start like food business. It's not even a company. If you say I'm gonna start a company, it's already scary enough for our parents, I think, or even for myself, because you kind of lose that security. And then when they say, well, what kind of company you going to start? If you tell them, oh, I want to prepare food delivery and stuff, because they don't, our parents doesn't have that concept, right? So they must be like, are you crazy? Yeah. How
Yeah,
do you even tell
exactly.
them that?
Yeah, it's so fun to talk to you about this because you totally understand. Like what you said is like exactly the way my parents responded to it. And
Yeah.
to this day,
Even now?
if you had my mom seated right here, she would tell you that she thinks I should stop running this company and get a normal job, like in tech or
Oh
in
yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Was it scary for you? Were you like, am I really doing this? Like, how? What was like? What was going through your mind? And to, I don't know, for me to talk myself, keep going with this, So
The funny thing is, I don't remember feeling scared at all at the time.
what? Oh
Yeah,
wow,
it's crazy. And I had liquidated my entire retirement savings and put it all into starting this company. And that's how I was able to
what?
take a salary and to get the business off the ground. So I took my entire retirement savings, got the business started with it. I didn't feel scared. And then it's probably like weird. It's like in a way that I was like, I think it's almost like a character flaw. There are like these psychology tests that you can take to see how you rank on like happiness and optimism and stuff. And so I fall in this bucket of like cheerful people who are like kind of delusional and always think everything's going to work out well,
Oh,
right?
that's awesome! It worked out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so like there are pros and cons to being in this bucket of people. I mean, yeah, one of the pros is like, I take obscene amounts of risk because I always think everything's gonna work well. One of the downsides is I'm like very trusting, so I do, I can get taken advantage of or lied to very easily, but so I remember at the time, like, despite like risking my entire life savings
You didn't
on
tell your mom that, right? She's gonna go
no, I
crazy.
didn't tell her that.
I
No, she
know
didn't.
she's gonna, yeah.
But no, I didn't feel scared. And I was just like so busy working and so passionate about this because, I used to have so many autoimmune health problems. I used to be so overweight, covered in acne, covered in eczema,
Wow.
depressed, anxious. And it wasn't until I learned how to eat properly that, my whole life opened up to me and I could, feel confident, wear whatever clothes I want, wear bikinis in public, feel
Yeah.
confident at work and all of that. And so it's been kind of my mission to kind of unlock that experience for as many people as possible through, a proper diet. So I'm passionate about what we do because, you know, being healthy, being in a healthy weight has always, I mean, it's been one of the hardest struggles in my life. I'm not one of those like, naturally small Asian girls. Like I can gain, I'm not even kidding you. If I didn't watch my diet, I could easily gain 30 pounds in like a month, right? Like,
Really? Oh my.
yeah, easily. I could easily go off the rails and gain 30 pounds in a month. So, and so this is why I just really empathize with people who struggle with not just the autoimmune health issues that I have, but like weight. And so one thing that makes methodology really different from a lot of other services is we are very calorie controlled, right? And we do talk about weight loss, because I think that, the one problem I see with all the body positivity stuff that's happening in America is now people are afraid to teach about weight loss, which I think is a bad thing because there are a lot of people who need to and want to learn about weight loss. So for us as a brand, I have it's a new product that's launching in January, but we're prototyping it now called Transformation Tribe, where I take a cohort of people and I coach them through, how to get the, a full body
Oh.
transformation in 8 weeks. So they're getting methodology for 8 weeks, but they're also getting daily coaching with me like every day for 8 weeks.
Oh
And then
wow.
we also have a community. So they're all on the same Slack group, supporting each other, answering the questions of the day, talking about where they succeeded or struggled today. And for me, this is like what I always imagined methodology would become. That's why I named it methodology. I believe that we shouldn't be eating randomly or haphazardly. We need a
Yeah.
methodology to the way we eat. And also methodology, my vision for it was always that it would be food layered with something experiential in the nutrition space and educational, because I really love teaching and coaching. So yeah, this
No,
is
but this
my
is,
passion.
yeah, so you didn't just solve the problem. You actually using this to It's your personal experience. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so that's why I love when we attract customers who are like me, who had 30 pounds or more to lose or have,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And I love, like, we have customers who have lost over 100 pounds since using us, right? So,
Hmm.
of course, we have the typical healthy Pilates woman who's never been overweight in her life. We have a lot of those as customers. That's probably the majority, but the ones that I feel most passionate about, right, are the ones with like the biggest pain point, right?
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
like, they're like very overweight. Everything they've tried has failed before. These are the ones I'm most eager to get my hands on and give them the transformation they've been dreaming of their whole lives.
Oh, this is great. When this program gonna start next year?
Yeah, so the it's going to kick off officially. The first cohort open to the public, not in beta mode, is going to be January 8th. So that'll be, the delivery is going out that week. I'll take, I'll take a new cohort of people for 8 weeks starting that week and give them the experience that I've been prototyping with this test group, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome. That's really exciting. And plus, I feel like I can feel you in the sense like you can actually connect them and you can actually see the transformation. I mean, obviously, there's other customer ordering your food and they have changes, but to really be there and create this community, and like you said, people can ask each other question and support each other. I think that's awesome. It's connection,
Yeah,
right? So, and
yeah,
then
I'm
you make that
excited for
connection
it.
through food. Yeah, you make that
Yeah, I'm
connection through
excited
food.
for it. I think food can connect people in so many interesting ways, and it doesn't always have to be about, oh, I think a lot of the women who I work with, they think of food and connection as like sabotaging their weight loss, right?
Mhm.
And so I like giving them like a new way to connect over food that like promotes the weight loss that they want and gives them community, because the world is ready for the next generation of Weight Watchers and Nutrisystem. Like, obesity has not gotten less bad in America. It's continued to get worse.
Mhm.
And so I think America like needs solutions other than the Wegovies of the world,
Yeah.
for people who want to actually learn how to change their mindset, behaviors, habits, and get those lasting results.
Yeah, yeah. Oh wow. Okay. No, I'm so happy for you because I think this is such a good program and I know it's gonna help a lot of people. I'm looking forward to it and I definitely wanted to follow up and then to see what happened to the program that you started it. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah, I'm excited. We have so many fun things launching next year, like big, big things that we've been working on
yeah.
behind the scenes. So, a lot of new audiences we're going after.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that also by talking to you, how you created methodology is not just easy, it's not just solving problem for other because you were trying to come up with a solution for yourself and your friend, but I think you actually personally invested in it and then do your personal journey, right? Because you were having problem and trying to figure out how to lose weight, how to take care of your health, and do that. You wanted to create the next project that you coming out next year to help those people that would do the same or suffering the same experience that you did, and you can help them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hard to feel passionate about something unless you've like really been through it yourself. It's just a total different level of passion. 'Cause, like,
Yeah,
my
it's
for example,
true.
my co-founder who's never struggled with weight, he could
Yeah,
he could
he's
never
like
he
he's just
doesn't.
gonna be like the food tastes good. That's all I care
Yeah,
about.
I know, exactly, right?
Yeah,
Like, so,
which is good because that's why your food tastes really good
yeah,
compared to others. So totally
yeah,
get that.
needed
Yeah.
him, needed him. We balance each other out perfectly, because if it were me alone, I might be like too on the healthy end, like, and make the menu too strict a little bit,
Hmm.
And then if it were him, yeah, we might be too loose with calories and macros and stuff. So it's great. We're always kind of there's a push pull between us that keeps our menu in a very nice place.
Well, what would you say? I mean, now it's almost 10 years, right? You started in 2015. Like looking back, like what was the biggest challenge? Because it's almost 10 years. I mean, it seemed like now you got in a stable place and it's actually expanding. But what was the challenge, the biggest challenge? Because I know in the beginning you got probably went through some challenge, right?
Oh, I mean, I think the hardest part of building a company is building the team, right?
Okay.
And a team that works at one stage of the business, or a person may not be like the right fit as the business moves on to like other phases, right? So
True.
I think that like team is just one of the hardest things to build, and especially culinary teams, because there is a shortage of chefs in America, right?
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a shortage of chefs in America. So like, it's one of these industries where the employees really control the market, right? So there's like
Wow.
very little loyalty in the industry in general, like because a chef can quit and have a job at another kitchen within like 1 or 2 days, right?
I didn't
So
know that. See, our family shouldn't make us be a chef, right? They shouldn't like forget the
yeah,
judge or lawyer. There's so many of them.
no, there's a
Yeah.
huge shortage of chefs, and so it's like very hard to retain really good culinary talent, because even though there's a shortage of chefs, the economics of food hasn't changed, meaning consumers aren't all of a sudden willing to pay more for food, right? Which means chef salaries aren't necessarily higher. Like they can't really
Yeah.
necessarily hire, right? There's only so much like the market will bear because American consumers, the problem is like, all of the mass produced food and mass manufactured food give us this anchor of a low price for things, for snacks. And, this is why
Yeah.
methodology, for example, we can't make potato chips, right? Like I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
to make like delicious clean potato chips, but ours would have to be, a tiny jar for like $15, right? Because they're
Yeah.
made and blah, 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 blah. So, that's just like one example. And so building a culinary team has been like the hardest part of building a business, because not only do we need chefs who are willing to cook this way, think about it.
Hmm.
If you take a chef out of a Michelin kitchen and you're like, okay, but you can't use any dairy or refined sugar or a processed ingredient,
They're gonna
right?
be
And they're
like,
gonna look at
what?
you. Yeah, they're gonna look at you like, what? Because it
Yeah.
just means like none of their old recipe decks work, and everything,
Hmm.
they need to learn a whole new way of cooking. And do they even care about that, right? So to find a chef who's passionate about wellness, wants to cook this way, that's always been one of the trickiest things, because most chefs don't actually care that much about health.
Because they learn to make the food look delicious, the beauty, right? Because when you well, I don't know. I mean, even when you're watching like cooking competition show, they never say which food is the most healthiest as a winner,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
It's
Because
presentation and taste. Yeah.
exactly. Everywhere else in the world, whether that food nourishes and heals a person is irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
So it's extremely, so you take the fact that it's already hard to find a chef anyways, even if we just owned a normal restaurant, and then you layer on top of that, okay, well, you have to like really be passionate about our mission. And then
Yeah.
you have a sliver of the world that you can hire. And
Yeah.
so that's always been one of our biggest challenges, is like hiring, retaining, and building a culinary team who is mission driven. The team has gotten stronger every year for sure, and that's why our food has gotten better every year. But that's been probably one of the hardest things we've had to face.
Yeah. I can totally see that. Interesting. Um, so what would be now going to do this? Like what would you give yourself advice if you had to do this again? Like what would you make anything different, you know? Or what would be, because you have no fear, which that's amazing. I know you think that could be good and bad, right? But I feel like as an entrepreneur, to have that is actually a good thing. It's like risk taken, right? And then because when you do a survey, well, I don't know which school they did a survey, most entrepreneur are risk taker, or at least higher, they rate are higher on risk taker, right? So I mean, I would say my family would think I'm crazy. I'll do Lulu, because I'm a risk taker too. But I don't know as high as you. Like all my saving there, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but you get the point. So like, would you do anything different looking back? Like, how would you, if somebody else wanted to do this again, like what would you tell that person or the younger self of you?
Yeah, I think things that I learned, along the way, I underestimated how important like branded beautiful packaging is. Like, I think that we could have prioritized getting that done earlier in our journey. I like just really underestimated, the impact that has on consumers, because it's not really done in the meal prep industry, right? It's done in
Yeah.
beauty, it's done in snacks, but it's not done in meal prep. So I just really underestimated like what that would unlock for us. And as soon as we did it, I mean, people lost their minds, like when they saw our jars with the little pink lids, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and that didn't come till several years into our journey. I knew I had wanted something custom, but I was like, I wavered on it for quite a while. Like, it's going to be so much more expensive. It's even going to make a
Exactly.
difference. It doesn't even make the food taste better. Is it worth it? So I think, I think that in any consumer industry, like, yeah, if you are selling a consumer product, you need to prioritize making sure it looks as amazing and like on brand
Okay.
as possible. It's more important than you think. And I think a lot of startup, if you're bootstrapped and you're startup, you might like deprioritize that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it really does. It pays for itself back in terms of making it cheaper to acquire a customer on the marketing end, right? So it really does pay.
That's really good advice, and I can see where you're coming from because we try to be practical, and then when you started a company, every money that you put in there, it matter, right? Because even like I started a company, like all the money you keep going back to building the platform or hire the team, the good team, or advertisement is also really expensive, right? But you're right, the packaging is now you realize that that does make a difference, right?
Yeah, because then if it's beautiful enough, then you have a product that like basically sells itself, right? And which is
Yeah,
like what we have now, fortunately. Like people, they know our brand because the visuals. If they don't buy right away, it's just because there needs to be like a right time in your life when you're ready for something like this,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, but they know who we are and like they remember us because that's we're known for the most beautiful meal prep in America, in the world, frankly, right? And
Yeah, and
so
the jar, and when you pull it out, it
Mhm.
just looks so fresh. Like you can see it from the outside. It make you want to eat it more, you know? Well, and
Yeah,
not bad to presentation in a way, because remember I was saying like even cooking competition is presentation and taste. So yeah,
exactly.
okay.
So I would have prioritized that sooner. And then I think one of the things that I learned way too late, like, so we ended up during COVID because financially things were so hard for us. We
Yeah.
had no choice. We had to offshore every role that didn't physically need to be in the US to save money. And
Mm.
so we had to like, get rid of our whole tech team in the US and move it all abroad, right? Like just move every marketing role abroad, move like literally everything that could go abroad, logistics, everything, right?
Uh-huh.
And that was really hard and scary and painful to do at the time because we didn't know, is the talent going to be like worse? Are things going to get worse?
Yeah.
Like, what is it going to mean? And, we've landed with a team now that's stronger than it's ever been before and costs like one fourth what it used to cost.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that's something I was like, oh my God, if we had built the company like this with a fully remote workforce since year one that cost way less, and we would have saved so much money over the years that we could have put into, product development and customer acquisition. And so I learned that like way too late, only because I was forced to because things were so bad during the pandemic, we had no
Yeah.
choice.
No, but that's interesting because the pandemic, I think a lot of people was because everybody's working from home, right? So you don't have to be in the office. And now for startup, like we pretty much outsource. And even with AI now, right? So it's almost like you can cut down a lot of money, the human capital, the cost, because labor costs are really expensive, right? Especially if you want to get a good team. Um, and then, so you and I both all have with tag, it's expensive, So outsourcing, finding a good team and where is also another trial and error, I would say, right? Because you have to try different things, who's better, and to come up with a team and create a team. But you're right, it does save you a lot of costs, right? But yeah. But again, none of us learned that. I mean, till the pandemic hit, now we can work from home and all that, right? And then we thought that was like end of the world, our business is gonna go bad. But it actually helped you come around, survive from that, and you realize, oh wow, I can actually cut down a lot of costs from that. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
is amazing. And that's why now I work in Europe because all my direct reports are in India, the Philippines, somewhere on that side of the world, and then California is on the other side. So I'm like
yeah.
right in the middle right now, and it's perfect.
Oh, that's why you picked there. That makes sense now. Okay. Because I was gonna say why you pick Europe or why you pick um because when I was flying, that's how we connected. And I was like, oh, why you live in Europe? I was thinking about that. That makes sense.
Yeah, so I can
Yeah.
do my calls in the morning, with the Philippines and India, and then in the evening with California.
Smart. See, that's another thing. Pick where you're gonna live that you can work with the time zone. I thought about that. I during the pandemic, I was like, I'm gonna live in Mexico because Mexico is close enough to California and they didn't have as strict as restriction during the pandemic as, US. And I was thinking in my head, like, if something happened and I had to come back for the meeting, it's like 2 3 hour flight, so I can deal with that. And then the time zone is only like an hour or two different. So I could still work. So yeah, okay. So you were thinking the same thing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Europe is fun. Like I had
I know.
fun. Like I've done a lot of Asia, but I mean, there's so many major cities in Europe I've still yet to visit, and I'm excited to visit. So I love living here.
So I guess we're not gonna see you back in the US then, not for a while, huh?
I mean, no, I go back all the time for work and to see my family, but as far as where I spend the majority of my time, it's like here in Europe.
Well, next time I'm in Europe, I definitely say hi. We should definitely meet up. So yeah, because I
Yes,
do go there a lot also. So we should meet next time.
yes. Come visit me in London, and I'll be in California for sure in December.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well, I see you then. Well, so do you have any advice for a little girl or anybody who want to start and they're thinking that if they should, beside the fact that we're gonna say go for it, take all your saving. Like, like what would you tell them?
I mean, I think that the reason why we survived is because the amount I was willing to suffer for what I believed in was really high. Like, so you have to kind of ask yourself, are you willing to take no salary and work 100 hours a week for 3 years?
Yeah.
Um, Potentially go the first 9 months without seeing any friends or family. If you can't say yes to those questions, then do not start a company, because
Yeah.
I I have a lot of friends who started companies around the same time as mine. And honestly, like when I look at the pattern of who survived versus who hasn't, it's just like, did the co-founder give up or not? Like
Mhm.
I'm around because I didn't give up because there was no amount of suffering that is like too much for me. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
So, if you are passionate enough about, the problem you're trying to solve, that you are willing to, like I said, take no salary for 1 to 2 years, work, 80 to 100 hour weeks for several years, um, realize that like romantic relationships, like a lot of things are gonna just have to be on the back burner until you get to profitability or
Yeah.
raise that next round or whatever it is, whatever stage you're in. Don't do it, because I also, when I, the odds, it's just so hard to succeed in running a company. You have to want it so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I might, I always say, uh, I did, this doesn't sound horrible. It's almost like, who has the time to go on date? Like, I got to get this done. I mean, don't kill me, single women or not single, because I think I get judged by that when I said that, because they always be like, you need to find time, balance life, and I get it, and I believe in that. But when you actually first started a business, it's like having a baby.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. That's the right analogy. Like in years 1 to 2, I don't think,
yeah,
did not date because I just couldn't. It was not an option. Like it was not like the product would not have gotten out. We would have, like burned through all the money in the bank account if I had like tried to do other things in life at that time. Um, so when I think about balance, I don't think about like balance like every day my life has balance. There are just going to be multi-month or multi-year periods where I'm grinding, and then there are going to be multi-month or multi-year periods where I can like sit back a little bit, right? So like
yeah,
now business is national. We have a team of over 100 people. It's stable. We have new product launches coming up all the time. Our PR agency is killing it. So like we're always getting top tier press. It's like things are humming now. And so I'm dating now,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
I'm like
Now
actually
I
looking for
can.
a husband.
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
like actually dating properly for the first time in my life. I'm like seriously looking for a husband,
yeah. Oh,
like
by
being
the way, people, she's single. She's single. So anybody reach out to her. By the way, I'm gonna put, well, so now you know where to reach her. Follow her on social media. Okay. Yeah.
so yeah, so now
It's
I get to
true.
enjoy more, right? But the first few years of starting my company, it was not, it was not about, personal life, even like my health. Like I was not exercise, I couldn't exercise every
Yeah.
day during that time. Like some things just had to give or the business would have closed down.
Yeah, and then I like the way you put that perspective. It's not like you're not balanced your life, work and life. It's still looking at every single day, every minute of it. You're looking at a whole scheme, right? Like you can take a couple days, focus on the project when this meeting had to go out, or whatever it is, and then take the 2 day off for yourself. Something like that. Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I was like when I was because what I said, who have time to date at this moment? I know people are gonna judge. It's like you need to balance your life, but you're right. If you look at it as a big picture, instead of looking at every minute of it, then you still have a balanced life. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay,
Because people,
lady.
if someone just met me right now, they would be like, you have more fun than anyone like we know. Like, what kind of
Yeah.
life are you living? Like, they see me in the summer in like San Tropez, Ibiza, Mallorca,
Yeah.
right? But it's because I'm just bringing everything back into balance because I had years where I was working 80 to 100 hours a week, like
True.
decades, frankly, when I count, like, if I were to count tech and banking as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So you earned it, lady. Go out there, enjoy. And then I can't wait for your program next year. And then I definitely want to follow up with you and see how that program, that community you created and how that go. And then I think that's amazing that you're doing that. So thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Julie, for being on our show. And I'm so glad that we get to connect on this. Yeah, because I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it back from the festival because the timeline, it was actually the whole weekend and my girlfriend was there with me, and then I had to come back to have dinner with my parents, so I actually flew back early. So I was like, well, family come first. And well, I don't even know if family come first. It's more like I don't really have a choice because I don't want to get yelled at. So as Asian parent, so yeah, I need to come back. So yeah. Literally,
Well,
I think I was in the music festival less than 24 hours, even though it's a whole weekend thing. But yeah.
I'm amazed because you look very refreshed and healthy.
It's all filter, baby. Filter. But thank you. So I'm so glad we get a chance to connect on Sunday. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And so I'm gonna start mine, but I'm sure we're gonna meet in person soon.
Let's definitely do it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye.